In the roaring 1920s, while America danced to the rhythm of the Jazz Age, what did the world see? Often it was a caricature, the racist distortions painted by white hands in minstrel shows and mainstream media. But one artist in Chicago refused to accept this lens. He was classically trained, an intellectual master of technique who used his brush as a weapon. He didn't paint stereotypes, he painted people. He captured the energy, the sophistication, and the joy of the black urban experience. His name was Archibald Motley, Jr., and this is the story of the visionary artist who used high art to reclaim the black narrative and define the modern jazz age. Archibald Motley Jr. was born in New Orleans in 1891 but raised in Chicago. His family was part of the black middle class. His father worked for the Pullman Company and later in real estate. They valued education, discipline, and achievement. In Chicago, the Motleys lived in a predominantly white, affluent neighborhood, giving young Archibald a unique perspective on the complexities of race and class from an early age. From childhood, Archibald was obsessed with drawing. While his parents hoped he might pursue architecture or medicine, they recognized his immense talent. They encouraged his passion, providing him with art supplies and private lessons, fostering the intellectual and artistic foundation necessary for his strategic ambition. In 1914, at age 23, Motley achieved a monumental milestone. He was admitted to the Art Institute of Chicago, one of the most prestigious art schools in the nation. He was one of the very few black students in his class. This was his strategic first step, to master the classical Western canon, its composition, color theory, and technique, proving that a black artist could rival any master. He studied diligently, absorbing the techniques of European realism and Impressionism. He excelled, winning prizes and gaining the respect of his instructors. But he was already planning a radical departure from the European pastoral scenes he was taught to paint. Upon graduating in 1918, Motley focused his professional skills on dignified realist portraiture. He didn't need to search for authentic black subjects. He started with his own family. His paintings, such as Mending Socks, a tender, powerful portrait of his grandmother, were revolutionary in their simplicity and deep humanity. By painting black subjects with classical precision, dignity, and emotional complexity, he was issuing a challenge. He was forcing the art world to see his community not as caricatures, but as individuals worthy of high art. It was a quiet, intellectual act of defiance. By the 1920s, Chicago had become a primary destination of the Great Migration. Tens of thousands of African Americans had fled the Jim Crow South, settling in the South Side neighborhood known as Bronzeville. Bronzeville was a bustling, self-sufficient city within a city, full of black-owned businesses, theaters, churches, and vibrant social life. While the Harlem Renaissance was blooming in New York, Motley was the master chronicler of the Renaissance in Chicago. Bronzeville was his canvas. This is where Motley's art transformed. He moved from the quiet parlor into the dynamic streets, the dance halls, the pool rooms, and the parks. He wasn't just painting a scene, he was painting the sound of the jazz age. His genre paintings are iconic for their artificial lighting, bold, often clashing colors, especially his signature deep reds and purples, and dynamic compositions that convey movement, leisure, and the joy of public life. Paintings like Blues, 1929, show diverse groups of black people in a chic nightclub, sophisticated and in motion. Mainstream America was fascinated by jazz culture, but Hollywood and literature often reduced it to simplistic, racist primitivism. Motley's paintings countered this with strategic sophistication. He showed the nuances of class and the diverse interests within the community, from elite intellectuals in the club to everyday people in the park. Crucially, Motley was a direct observer. He would visit Bronzeville neighborhoods, sit in parks, and make sketches from life, ensuring his representations were based on observation, not imagination or stereotype. Motley's work also grappled with complex issues within the black community. He was one of the first artists to extensively and deliberately paint the wide spectrum of black skin tones, from the lightest octoroon to the deepest black. He understood that color was connected to issues of class, identity, and passing. His paintings did not present a monolith. They showed the beautiful, sometimes painful, reality of racial diversity within the community. This required immense technical skill and an intellectual commitment to telling the full truth about his people. Motley's excellence was recognized on the highest level. In 1929, he won a Guggenheim Fellowship, which included the prestigious Prix de Rome. This funded a year-long residency in Paris, the global center of modern art. In Paris, Motley visited the Louvre, studying the European masters from the Renaissance to the Impressionists. He also encountered the Negritude movement, the emerging international black intellectual consciousness. But more than anything, Paris gave him a new perspective on his home. In France, Motley experienced a freedom that was impossible in America. While Jim Crow was the law of the land in the US, Paris in the 1920s was relatively open, and black American artists and musicians found a welcoming, less segregated intellectual climate. Interestingly, his time in Paris did not make his art more French. Instead, the contrast solidified his strategic focus. He returned to the United States with an even greater determination to document the specifics of American black urban life, seeing it as a unique and vital subject, as worthy as any French countryside. Though Chicago was his base, Motley was a critical figure of the broader Harlem Renaissance, and his work was exhibited in major shows dedicated to new Negro art. In 1928, he received the prestigious Harmon Foundation Award, one of the highest honors for black achievement in the arts. Alain Locke, the leading philosopher of the Harlem Renaissance, praised Motley's work for its realism and its ability to capture the modern Negro with technical mastery. Motley was not just an illustrator, he was a vital intellectual part of the movement to uplift the race through cultural excellence. By the 1930s, Motley had defined an entire aesthetic. His clashing, jazz-like colors and focus on bustling public scenes became synonymous with the visual language of the black urban modern experience. He had successfully carved a space in the canon of American high art for the very subject mainstream culture sought to ignore. The Great Depression and the subsequent rise of abstract expressionism in the art world made Motley's figurative, socially focused style seem dated to some critics. His later work, while still technically masterful, adopted a simpler, slightly flatter style, partially because the market for his Jazz Age genre paintings declined. For decades after the Harlem Renaissance faded, Motley was largely overlooked by the wider art public. Yet, he never stopped painting the community he loved, and he mentored numerous younger black artists, ensuring the continuity of representation and technical skill. Today, Archibald Motley Jr. is rightfully recognized as a master American modernist. His strategic brilliance was in using elite technical skill to make the unseen visible, transforming the mundane reality of black public life into enduring, sophisticated high art. If you were captivated by this visionary of the Jazz Age, please like this video and subscribe to Lives in Time. We are dedicated to uncovering the vital, strategic stories of innovators who built our culture through intellect and excellence. Click the notification bell so you never miss our next in-depth look at history's greatest achievers.